What if one man's tragic end exposed a web of possible lies, alleged torture, and accusations of corruption? What secrets lie behind bars at one of America's most renowned prisons? And can we confront the uncomfortable truths that lurk in the shadows of our legal institutions? Join us at Crime Scene Archives, where we will be unraveling the unsettling narrative of Darren Rainey, a story that challenges our understanding and demands answers. Viewer discretion advised. This video contains graphic content related to crime scenes. It is intended for educational purposes only. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. On June 23, 2012, during a routine prisoner count at a Florida prison, guards discovered that one inmate was missing. The subsequent search for the missing prisoner revealed a shocking scene, the details of which remain unknown to this day. Dade Correctional, situated in unincorporated Miami-Dade County, approximately 40 miles south of Miami, began operations in September 1996. Housing around 1,500 inmates convicted of various offenses in the state of Florida, the prison accommodates both violent and non-violent offenders, often sharing living quarters. Some inmates, however, are granted individual cells, with many residing in the Transitional Care Unit, the official psychiatric ward of the prison. Among the inmates in the TCU was Darren Rainey, an African-American born on January 12, 1962. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, Rainey was serving a 2-year sentence for cocaine possession, scheduled to end in the summer of 2012, having commenced in August 2011. Despite his mental illness, Rainey had displayed unusual behaviors over the years, with prior convictions for violence. Throughout his sentence, he remained in the TCU, receiving psychiatric care and antipsychotic medication in a cell of his own. Guards could regularly monitor him through a glass window in his cell door. However, in June 2012, Rainey's life abruptly ended under mysterious circumstances, casting a cloud of uncertainty that persists almost a decade later. This is the story of Darren Rainey. On June 23, 2012, a few weeks prior to the scheduled release of 50-year-old Darren Rainey from Dade Correctional, he was set to be released in July. 6 correctional officers, including a sergeant, were assigned to the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift in the West Wing of the Transitional Care Unit, where Darren was housed. Their responsibilities included checking in on inmates every half hour. Correctional Officer Cornelius Thompson, with 3 years of experience at Dade, conducted a routine check on Darren at approximately 6:30 p.m., finding nothing unusual. Another CEO, Roland Clark, who had been at Dade for over 2 years and was well regarded, made rounds through the cell block shortly after 7:30 p.m. It was then reported that Darren, who had been displaying odd behavior since guards discarded his Quran days earlier, had smeared feces on himself and the cell walls. Sergeant John Fanfan, a senior officer with over 4 years at the facility, ordered Darren to be taken to the showers for cleanup. An orderly was instructed to clean the soiled cell. The shower, located in an adjacent building, had controlled water flow and temperature, preventing inmate misuse. Notably, it wasn't the nearest shower to Darren's cell, and Correctional Officer Clark chose a more isolated one. Upon reaching the shower, Darren's handcuffs were removed, and he was instructed to wash. Clark, aware of Darren's history of refusing to clean, left him locked in the shower around 7:40 p.m. Checks scheduled every half hour were neglected, and Darren remained in the shower until approximately 9 p.m., when another officer heard the running water. Thompson, claiming Darren still had feces on him, left him in the shower. At 9:30 p.m., Sergeant Fanfan decided to remove Darren, regardless of cleanliness, and ordered Clark to return him to a cell. When Clark opened the shower door, he found Darren unresponsive. Medical assistance was called, CPR attempts were made, and Rainey was taken to the medical building. At 10:07 p.m., he was pronounced dead, and the Miami-Dade Police Department was notified 2 minutes later. Emergency personnel failed to resuscitate Rainey, and within an hour, a police officer arrived for statements and evidence collection. On the morning of June 24, 2012, Detective Wilbert Sanchez from the Miami-Dade Police Department arrived at Dade Correctional Institution to take charge of the investigation into the death of inmate Darren Rainey. Detective Sanchez conducted interviews with individuals present at the time of Rainey's death, including correctional officers and nurses involved in life-saving attempts. 4 people provided statements, all of whom were not Rainey's fellow inmates. During the interviews, at least one person pointed out red areas on Rainey's body, suggesting potential burns. Disturbingly, images of Rainey's corpse later revealed extensive skin detachment from his face, torso, back, arms, and legs, excluding his feet. Despite the visible skin issues, the correctional officers overseeing the wing claimed Rainey did not scream or show signs of pain during his time in the shower. Given the lack of supervision for about 2 hours, Detective Sanchez initially categorized Rainey's death as unclassified, pending further investigation, including a comprehensive autopsy scheduled for later that day. Detective David Lillard, part of the MDPD crime scene unit, arrived at Dade Correctional around 12:45 a.m. to photograph Rainey's body and relevant locations, such as the shower, medical building, and his cell. He began collecting reports and available evidence, excluding the warm temperature of the fatal shower due to the absence of a working thermometer at the time. The autopsy conducted later that morning by Dr. Emma Liu, Dade County's Deputy Chief Medical Examiner, revealed no apparent external injuries or burns, contrary to the visible skin issues. Details of Rainey's death became public in 2014, 2 years after the incident, during which some involved prison employees had moved on to other careers without facing consequences. Despite multiple complaints filed in 2013 with FDOC Inspector General Jeffrey Beasley's office, alleging severe abuses at Dade Correctional, including prolonged deprivation of food and water, physical and sexual abuse, and attempted torture, no significant actions were taken. One complaint in particular highlighted the use of a shower as a torture chamber, controlled by guards from an adjacent room, with allegations of dangerous water temperature manipulation. Harold Hempstead, a key complainant, claimed insider knowledge about Darren Rainey's death, but according to Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown, these complaints were returned by the FDOC IG's office without any action. This lack of action eventually resulted in the suicide of Richard Mayer, a 40-year-old inmate, in September 2013. He was in a cell and left behind a suicide note alleging mistreatment during his time in a mental health facility. Mayer claimed he was supposed to receive help for depression and suicidal tendencies, but was instead assaulted. He accused guards of being complicit in the widespread physical abuse in the mental health facilities at DCI. Despite Mayer's claims, a subsequent investigation by the FDOC Inspector General found no evidence of the alleged misconduct. By April 2014, Julie Brown, a reporter for the Miami Herald, began investigating the Florida prison system and delving into the still unresolved case of Darren Rainey, who had died almost 2 years earlier. Since 2012, Dr. Emma Liu, Dade County's Deputy Chief Medical Examiner, had stated that the autopsy was pending further investigation by the Miami-Dade Police Department. Similarly, the MDPD claimed they awaited autopsy results before progressing with the case. It was only when Miami Herald reporters started probing and asking unanswered questions that the case gained momentum again. In April 2014, 22 months after Rainey's death, MDPD Detective Wilbert Sanchez revisited the case. He contacted Dr. Liu, who conducted the original autopsy, and the decision was made to re-examine the case by gathering all available evidence. This involved collecting statements from individuals not previously questioned and re-interviewing those who had been part of the initial investigation. Harold Hempstead, an inmate at Dade Correctional Institution, was among those authorities consulted during the reinvestigation. His cell was directly below the shower where Rainey had been placed on the night of his death, and he had written numerous complaints about abuse from Dade CI's guards, many related to Rainey and his death. Hempstead, serving a projected life sentence of 1,075 years for burglary spree, testified that guards had locked Rainey in the shower. According to him, Rainey kicked the door and pleaded for release, claiming, "Please take me out. I'm sorry. I won't do it anymore. I can't take it anymore." Hempstead also recounted guards discovering Rainey's lifeless body around 9:50 p.m. and urgently calling for medical assistance and a stretcher. In his testimony, Hempstead described this as a recurring event, asserting that guards had previously subjected inmates to that particular shower for punishment, controlling the water temperature from an adjacent closet. He alleged that other inmates had experienced similar treatment, sometimes with cold water and other times with hot, but never to this extreme. Hempstead also claimed that the shower's dimensions, approximately 8 feet by 3 feet, were just enough to avoid direct water impact but would cause pooling around the inmate's feet. With limited ventilation, heat and steam would accumulate inside through the door slots. In addition to inmate statements, some officials started sharing their stories over the following years, including staff members from Dade Correctional Institution. George Mankrat, a psychotherapist who worked at the Transitional Care Unit between 2008 and 2011, noted that he knew many guards had a history of abuse. In a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice, he reported taunting, tormenting, abusing, beating, and torturing chronically mentally ill inmates by guards at the TCU on a regular basis. Harriet, a psychiatric technician at DCI from 2010 to 2013, disclosed details of inmate abuse in 2016 interview with The New Yorker. While she lacked specific knowledge of Darren Rainey's death, what she witnessed aligned with inmates' accounts, which had been dismissed for years. She claimed authorities at the prison tampered with evidence to conceal the truth of the Darren Rainey case, with more than a year passing without any scrutiny. In December 2015, Dr. Emmylou concluded her report on the unexplained death of Darren Rainey. Dr. Liu determined that Rainey's cause of death was accidental, citing his history of schizophrenia, which may or may not have affected his nervous system and raised his body temperature. Notably, Dr. Liu's conclusions seemed to overlook the skin slippage observed all over Rainey's body, a detail she had previously noted in her autopsy as visible trauma. Despite this, Dr. Liu classified these findings as not burns. She asserted that Rainey's skin literally slipping off his body at the time of discovery resulted from friction. She explained that decomposition occurred rapidly in the hot and humid shower environment. When questioned about the extended time taken to reach this conclusion, Dr. Liu cited the high number of deaths in local prisons over the past decade, with each requiring a separate investigation. In 2017, Catherine Fernandez-Brundle, the state attorney for Miami-Dade County, released a 101-page report stating that none of the guards were responsible for locking Darren Rainey in a shower for nearly 2 hours, leading to his death. No charges were filed against any of the guards. The report, released on a Friday afternoon in 2014, also detailed the case of Latondra Ellington, a black female inmate who died shortly after expressing fears to her family about guards harming her. Despite signs of bruises covering her body, her death was attributed to heart disease, creating mystery and confusion. As we conclude the unsettling story of Darren Rainey, it serves as a poignant reminder of the complex challenges within our criminal justice system. The circumstances surrounding his tragic death remain clouded in controversy, highlighting broader issues of accountability and transparency. As we navigate these narratives, it's essential to advocate for justice, ensuring that the voices of those who face injustice are heard. If you found this video informative, Give us a like, consider subscribing to Crime Scene Archives for more weekly videos. Hit that bell icon to join our community, and don't forget to leave us your thoughts on the comments down below. Thank you for exploring this troubling tale with us, and may it inspire continued conversations on reform and fairness within our legal institutions.